All right. So before I jump into all of the signs, I did want to let you guys know that just for the month of February and the first week of March, I'm offering a different type of reading called an abundance reading. And basically, what I'm going to be doing is looking at all of your luckiest days for the next 6 months, like the best energy when you might want to launch something, or when you might meet somebody, or when you might get more money. Basically, when you have opportunities, ideas, great conversations, breakthroughs come to you. So I'll list all those out for you and kind of explain what they are. And then I will do a tarot spread that shows you how to best take advantage of that energy over the next 6 months, how to best create more of that abundance in your life. Again, I'm only going to have this available for this month in particular, and I may also limit the amount of them that I'm offering just because it came to me in a meditation, so I wanted to offer it to you guys. But I don't necessarily want to make this like my whole kind of gig. I'm mostly doing astrology coaching. So if you are interested in getting your abundance reading, definitely check that out in the link down below while they are still available. And I will see you guys there. Hi guys, this is Courtney from Willow's Bloom, and I'm excited to bring today's message. And I'm looking at the forecast from the 15th to the 19th. And I really feel like this message is really strongly directed towards, well, it's directed towards everyone, of course, because it is astrology, but I really was getting strong messages around people who are spiritual teachers, who are healers, who may or may not be actually acting on some of those things yet. I really feel like this could be a big week for many of us, and I think for the collective in general, it's going to be a week in which we are reconnecting to what it feels like to be a soul on this planet. And not just a human, not just somebody rushing around with lots of tasks and things to do and so much on our minds and on our hearts all the time. It really feels like a time to be gentle, to embody a beautiful kind of feminine flow where we're still taking action, but we're also resting. We're also socializing. We're also embodying creative energy, or painting, or connecting with our spirit guides, doing other spiritual practices. So it really feels like a gentle time and a really beautiful time that I think many of us need. I think a lot of us have been kind of going through some craziness with these last few transits, if it's been hitting your chart, and it could have felt like some intense energy, especially with all this Pluto stuff going on, that I feel like has been really coming up since kind of the Aquarius new moon. And it's been giving a lot of attention to kind of more of the shadowy side of ourselves, and where the work still lies, where we have to be honest with ourselves and be truthful, where we might have fears come up. And now it's like we're finally getting a break from some of that energy. And I really feel I'm feeling very lethargic today. I'm feeling very like, oh, I could just fall asleep. And that's the kind of energy that I think we might experience this next week. But it could also manifest in really beautiful ways as well, instead of just tiredness. And I'm seeing that because on the 15th, we have Venus conjunct Neptune in Pisces. And this is always like a really dreamy time. I would never necessarily say that this is a best time for like big relationship or money decisions. It is such a dreamy energy that sometimes we're a little bit disconnected from the practical sides of life. And so in terms of like making really big life decisions around finances or romance, this is not the best time, but it can be really great to just enjoy those people in our life, to have, it corresponds with Valentine's Day pretty much. So it's going to give us a much more kind of gentle, loving, compassionate Valentine's Day than we might have had in the past, which is really nice. And even if it's for self-love, I feel like many of us will be just feeling a lot more like overflowing from our heart chakra. And it's also a really great time to pay attention to your dreams, because you might have some messages and intuition come as downloads during this time. And that's why this I felt like was really in some ways directed towards healers, because I think many of those people who have come here for some kind of divine purpose, who are meant to connect people more with, the ethereal realm, or kind of help them be on Earth, but also connect to things outside of Earth, so that we can maintain some sense of balance. I think many of us during this week might get some intuitive messages and guidance around how to best serve people, how to best show up for others and for ourselves to create that connection and create that balance. And I really see that coming into play the next day when the sun also conjuncts Saturn in Aquarius. There can be an application of some of the things that came in during downloads before. So if you got a dream or something came through during a meditation on the 15th, you'll start to be able to implement it on the 16th. And Saturn is a lot about concretizing something, making a commitment or dedication to something, and actually seeing it through. And so I think the encouragement here is to, yes, rest, and yes, make sure you have time to connect, especially on the 15th. Listen to your dreams, but also taking small action steps to implement some of the things that come in instead of just being like, oh, that was just a dream, and then you kind of ignore it. Like, no, really pay attention to your dreams this week, because I think they really have messages here. Some of us also might feel like on the 16th, we might, if we already have this as an element of our life, we might feel like we are really different from people, you know, where if you're a creative person, or if you're like a super big empath or highly sensitive person or super spiritual, you might just kind of really start to notice how you don't necessarily fit in with like a normal everyday person. And that might just be a little bit more obvious, especially because the sun and Saturn are in Aquarius, which has a lot to do with our sense of belonging or identifying with a group or not identifying with the group. And sometimes Saturn makes us feel like we're separate. So that's also potential, but I really feel like the antidote to this energy is to not become reclusive, but to actually share and teach what you know, to share people with what you feel or what dreams have come through for you. Find like-minded people who are interested in what you have to say and actually grow in that community. So I think it could be a really fun time for astrologers, because Uranus, which is the modern ruler of Aquarius, is very much linked with astrology. I also feel like many of us are supposed to kind of slow down. On the 18th, the sun moves into Pisces, and it's a lot about kind of going more with the flow. And I was pulling cards about this, and I got the moon card, or the moonstone, which has a lot to do with flowing with nature's cycles, disconnecting from the rush and the to-do list and the lots of thoughts, and actually just kind of allowing things to be more peaceful and patient and powerful. So not feeling like you have to do it all, know it all, be it all, but just allowing the cycles to unfold on their own while also still taking action. But taking action in more of a nature's type of way, where things are flowing, where things have their right timing and they're not rushed. And I think that that's a lesson that we can learn from at any time of the year, but it's especially potent for us now and available to us now to tap into. On the 17th, we have Mercury in Aquarius in 11th, making a sextile to Jupiter in Aries in the 1st. So again, this is another great time for downloads. This is another great time for great ideas to come through, for positive communication to happen. If you're going to sign contracts, this would be a good day to sign it. If Venus isn't too close to Neptune, Mercury and Jupiter together make really great combinations of being able to see details while also seeing the big picture. And I think it's very much in line with how can I best serve myself and grow as a person while also best serving my community or the group. And that's a really beautiful thing to be able to hold that contrast in line with each other. And then the last thing is that on the 19th, we have Venus at 29 degrees of Pisces, making a sextile to Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So I'm not sure if you've heard about the anaretic degrees, but in astrology, these are the first and last degrees of a sign, and they tend to be the most volatile. The 29 degrees of Pluto, the 29 degrees of Pisces, these are going to be where we're getting those final doses of a lesson around that sign and wherever that sign falls in our chart. And sometimes that can indicate that we have some type of crises or something happens that will instigate massive and rapid growth to wrap up that cycle. And so that's why it can be a little bit more volatile, because it's like, all right, we've got 10 minutes left. Let's get it all done before we leave. However, because this is a sextile between these planets and because there's such positive and gentle aspects going on throughout this week, I really feel like this is going to be a last push in a positive way, like a kind of like the universe is like giving us that support from the sidelines, like you go girl, you got this, especially because Pluto transiting through Capricorn has been a really, really long, slow cycle for the last like 20 years or so. And Venus coming in here also at the 29th degree of Pisces, I feel like is really giving us, again, that support from the universe saying, like, I know how hard you've worked. Look how much you've learned. Look how much you've been through. And Venus is just such a gentle and supportive and compassionate planet that I really feel like it's going to show us the shadow work and the things that we've looked at in these previous 2 weeks. It's going to show us the light side of it, the benefits of it, how we can use that to create more abundance and love in our life. And so I'm really excited actually for that, even though it might come with a little bit more intensity just because it is the 29th degree and because it has to do with Pluto. But I'm really getting the sense that it's going to be positive intensity, like a resolution that we've been long waiting for, and not a really big deal. It's not like a super big deal of a transit, but I think it's going to wrap up some nice things that we've been experiencing these last couple weeks, which I think is going to be really, really lovely. So let's go ahead and jump into what this looks like for all of the signs. So go ahead and stay tuned for that. All right, so Aries Rising, we have the beautiful Venus-Neptune conjunction happening in Pisces in your 12th house. And I think many of you might feel like you are really inspired with this Ace of Wands. Some of you guys might feel passionate and creative, and you might have some really beautiful ideas come to you, especially through your dreams. You more than anyone, because this is happening in your 12th house of dreams and altered states of consciousness. And I really feel like this is such a good time for you guys to take some time alone. That's not necessarily the message I was getting for the collective, but because the next day the sun is conjunct Saturn in your 11th, it might be a good time. Yes, you can commit to doing certain things with friendships or take action on these ideas that come to you, or these creative passions. But with the Hermit card next to the Seven of Cups, I really feel like this week is more of a time of personal exploration, going inside, going within to ask yourself, what inspires me? What makes me feel like myself? What makes me feel alive? Especially because the sun on the 19th or the 18th is moving into your 12th house, is going to bring a lot more attention and focus to your internal world. So if you've been kind of neglecting personal care, if you've been neglecting your spiritual practice, if you've been neglecting looking at how you feel about certain things or pursuing certain hobbies that make you feel more connected to yourself and your own essence and spirit, it's going to be a time to kind of shift back in where that comes into focus. And I think for many of you guys, also, you might notice that on the 17th is a good time to have an important conversation with somebody. You might also get a really great idea. And I say that because I pulled this communication card, but also because you have Mercury in your 11th house sextiling Jupiter in your first. So usually we can have some type of growth opportunity or growth spurt come through conversations and ideas. We can really feel like our brain starts to expand. So let's say that something comes through for you on the 15th and you're like, I feel really excited about this new creative passion or this new hobby or this thing that came to me in a dream, but I'm not really sure with the Seven of Cups. I'm not really sure how to implement that. I'm not really sure where I want to go with this, what this even means fully. This just came to me in a dream. And then on the 17th, you have a great conversation with a friend and you kind of talk about these big ideas and you start to tease out what you really want and what's really going on. And I think you'll start to notice that you discover a lot about yourself during this time. So there's kind of two messages here. One is to really focus on creating a lot of almost like a cocoon for yourself, to make sure that you have a lot of time and padding in your life to dedicate to your own energy, to dedicate to your own internal world and your own spiritual connection and process. The other is to then dip your toe out into the external world and maybe talk to some people around you and ask them, like, what do they think about certain things? And just maybe not so much from a place of, what should I do, but more from a place of, let's have a great conversation about the things that excite me, and it will allow this part of my life to grow bigger and clearer. Although I don't think this week is about really getting clear necessarily. You might get some clarity on the 17th, but that's not, I feel like it's not the purpose. I think it's almost more a time of play and exploration and connection with oneself. You also have Venus in the 12th house making a sextile to Pluto in the 10th. So I really do feel like the things that you are connecting with over this next week can actually directly impact your ultimate life choices, your careers, your goals, and that sort of thing. So it looks like a really positive week for you, Aries. Definitely a nice little break, and I hope that you guys enjoy. All right, up next we have Taurus. So for you guys, this Venus-Neptune conjunction, which is super beautiful in the sign of Pisces, is happening in your friendship sector as well as long-term goals. And I think that this is going to be a nice reprieve because you guys have been working very, very hard. And I think many of you guys have actually been feeling this sense of lack, because I did pull the Five of Pentacles. So maybe there's been this feeling of I work so hard and I don't get what I want in return. You have the North Node in your sign, so this is a year a lot about growing who you are and having to make big important decisions that step you outside of your comfort zone. But maybe those decisions haven't necessarily already paid off yet. Sometimes it takes 3 months to even see a little bit of a sign of something coming to life when we plant the seed of our intention. And so I think for many of you guys, this message is almost coming like some type of hope, but hope that comes through your own volition. This is not like, oh, something great's going to happen and it's a miracle. This is more so the energy of you are going to come up with some really, really great idea that I think is going to help you move into more of a state of manifestation. So if there's been something where you have been feeling a sense of lack, this could be in either your career, maybe even your friendship group, although it's not necessarily something I'm seeing. I really feel like with this Page of Swords and Magician card, you guys are going to have some kind of conversation, some kind of news, some kind of idea that will bring you a sense of what to do in order for you to cultivate more abundance. And so this sometimes means that we have to shift something inside of us. It's like, okay, this idea comes in, and we're like, oh, it's this part of me that believes this, and that's why. Or maybe there's something else where you need to literally just make a more practical adjustment to your business or to a certain skill that you need to develop. But I'm really seeing you guys becoming clear about what that is, and that might feel like a miracle. The information coming to you might feel like a miracle, although you are the one implementing it, if that makes sense. It's not just dropping into your lap. The idea is dropping into your lap, but the execution is you manifesting this thing in your life. And I really say that because the 17th, you have Mercury in your 10th house of goals and career, making a supportive sextile to Jupiter in the 12th, which is a lot about that miracle idea kind of dropping into your lap. And on the 16th, the sun is also conjunct Saturn in your 10th. So I feel like many of you guys have been in kind of this like work mode with this King of Swords and with the sun conjunct Saturn there. I think many of you guys have been very kind of like discerning, putting up boundaries, knowing what you want, working hard for things. But then in some ways though, I feel like it's also that part of you that's been leading to a little bit of this kind of lack mentality, because there needs to be more magic. There needs to be more aliveness. And on the 15th, when Venus is conjunct Neptune in your 11th, I think the opportunity for aliveness and magic can actually come through, especially through things that really interest you and people that really interest you. So maybe there was something that you start pursuing, you start thinking about, you start studying, or like going to some group of friends or doing something together in a social network. And like, let's say you take a pottery class, and somehow that can translate back into your life in different ways. That you having that new skill, learning that new thing is exciting, is giving back life to you. And I think you might even make really important connections this month because the sun moves into your 11th house. So you do have just a highlighted opportunity around relationships. And especially when you're going out and pursuing things that you enjoy, you will meet people that are the right people to connect with, that can give you the sense of magic back into your life, because maybe they're doing something that you want to do, or maybe they've achieved something that you want to achieve. And I really see that because on the 19th, you have Venus at 11 degrees or at 29 degrees of Pisces in your 11th house of friends, sextiling Pluto in the 9th. It's almost like your friends are going to bring back that sense of belief, faith, and optimism in yourself. So go ahead and make sure that you pursue the things that interest you right now, because that is going to lead you to exactly where you need to go. All right, up next we have Gemini. So for you guys, I was pulling so many Pentacles cards and then randomly the Three of Swords, and I was like, is this about their career? And I looked down at my notes, and the Venus-Neptune conjunction is happening in your 10th house, which I'm very, very glad about, because I really feel like many of you guys this past couple weeks, I think have been hard on all of us, but I think these past couple weeks, you guys may have been feeling like questioning certain things around if you can do something on your own. And because I pulled the Three of Swords as the final card, this is such a healing week. There's really so many positive aspects this week that I really didn't get the sense that you guys were struggling with the Three of Swords. It felt like you were overcoming or healing the Three of Swords. And I asked like what that was about, and I pulled the Nine of Pentacles. So I really feel like the Nine of Pentacles has a lot to do with being self-sufficient, making enough money on your own, doing things good enough on your own, not needing a partner, not da da da. So I think many of you guys might be feeling like any kind of codependency or feeling like you can't be self-sufficient. I think a lot of those things will start to become addressed this week. And I actually feel like you're going to feel a lot more strength within yourself, a lot more sure of yourself. And I think it's going to help with your productivity as well, especially with Sun conjunct Saturn. This is usually just a productive time in general, but because there's such soft energy kind of surrounding this Sun Saturn, it doesn't feel like a typical Sun Saturn. It feels like I'm very inspired by something with the Venus Neptune conjunction, my 10th house. I get an idea that I'm super, super inspired by and passionate by, something that comes to me almost like through divination in my career. And then I'm able to produce it. Then I'm able to create it. So whether this is you becoming more energized, you becoming more compassionate and easier on yourself within your career, whether this is a specific idea coming through, it's going to vary for a lot of you. But it could definitely be an idea, especially on the 17th, because with Mercury, which is your ruling planet, in your 9th house, sextiling Jupiter in your 11th. So many of you guys might at the very least feel a sense of optimism, feel more hopeful, more faithful this next week, much more gentle on yourselves. And then some of you might actually just downright get an idea that could be very prosperous. And especially I see that with the King of Pentacles. Like I think many of you guys have been feeling with the King of Pentacles preceding the Three of Swords, I think many of you guys have been maybe feeling like there's something that you needed to heal around your sense of productivity. There's something that you need to heal around the sacred masculine within you. The one that is, again, I'm alone. I can do this. This is my plan. This is my structure. This is how I make money. Some of you guys are really having to heal something around that. And the 10th house very much has to do with either the mother or the father in the chart. It can vary. But for some, it can be very much related to kind of the authority figure, the authority within us as well. And so I think that there's something around that that's being addressed and healed in a beautiful way, especially because the 18th, the sun does move into the 10th house in Pisces. And I think it's going to give you that spotlight and focus around how to create that sense of authority within yourself and your own life without being harsh, without being demanding or reprimanding. And so I think it's going to be, again, really, really healing and beautiful. And I see that kind of tied up in a bow on the 19th when Venus in your 10th house sextiles Pluto in the 8th. And it's like, yes, this compassion that I'm having with myself in my career while also setting a structure and holding to it. So it's like the rigidity with the softness is really being encapsulated this week, and especially for you in your 10th house. And I think it's going to provide a great opportunity for healing and releasing from your fears and also from the past. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Gemini, and I hope you enjoy this week. All right, next up we have Cancer. So it's funny, Cancer, I feel like I've been but pulling this star card for you so much lately. So I think that you guys are going through a massive cycle of healing, and that's even more clear during this week, which I feel like many of us are healing this week, but especially you guys with the star coming out. And also because your Venus-Neptune conjunction, which we're all experiencing on the 15th, is happening in your 9th house of hope and optimism. So I think many of you guys with the star card are getting faith restored in some area of your life. It might be faith in yourself. It might be faith in the universe. It might be faith in the idea of love or friendship or community. But there's something around your life where I feel like you guys are getting some type of healing energy boost where you're like, I can believe in this again. I can truly trust in this again, which might have been really difficult and scary for you over these past couple of months. You also have the next day the Sun conjunct Saturn in Aquarius in your 8th house, which I feel like mixed with the star energy and this Judgment card. I think many of you guys are having some type of epiphany or awakening around some area of your life. I think that many of you guys with this protection card will maybe see how the things that have happened in the past have actually been really a source of divine protection for you. They might have felt like initially really troublesome or difficult emotionally to process and to swallow. But when the Sun conjunct Saturn, I almost feel like there's a deeper connection to history and like a broader perspective of why things happen the way they do. And I think we can start to revisit things from our past, things that have been painful, and assimilate and process them in a way that lends itself to completion, to releasing that cycle. So it's like, okay, I recognize why this happened. Once we move through, we feel optimistic, we move through the pain, and we start to see why. That's when we really have come full circle. That's when we really have had that kind of world card in tarot. I don't know why I didn't pull it actually, because it feels like that, but it also feels like an awakening as well. Like you're seeing something for the first time or with clear eyes. And I think that's going to be really profound for you guys. And it's going to give you like this pep in your step with this Page of Wands. You can see this person's looking really excited and they're kind of moving with like, you know, with flow. And I feel like this person has a lot more creative energy because they're not dispensing so much energy to try to mask the past or heal from the past or not deal with something. They have now all of their mental faculties on board, all of their spiritual kind of excitement on board. And I really feel like that's going to benefit you guys. I can see that on the 17th when Mercury in the 8th sextiles Jupiter in the 10th. It's almost like whatever realization happened around your past, around that pain, that is actually going to help you within your career. It's like, okay, yeah, something clicked and now I have a brighter future. Now I know more of what I want or more excited about what I want because I'm understanding things more about myself and my life. On the 18th, the Sun moves into your 9th house in Pisces. And I think a lot, again, around your faith being restored just becomes stronger and stronger. And you start to feel like things become lighter and lighter. On the 19th, Venus in the 9th house also sextiles Pluto in the 7th. So this sense of optimism will profoundly heal and restore some of these tumultuous things that have been happening for you within relationships. It's your time in many ways to release from this past difficult cycle and to feel like there are much better paths ahead, much better relationships ahead, and to feel like you really, truly deserve it. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Cancer. I hope that resonates and I hope you have a great one. All right, up next we have Virgo. So you guys, I feel like there is definitely going to be some type of breakthrough this week that I think is going to give you some healing in your life around feeling like things are not balanced. So I'm excited to kind of talk to you guys about that because I'm sensing with these cards, especially with the Nine of Wands, a little bit of exhaustion and kind of being a little bit fed up with something. So we're going to talk about that. Let's go into the astrology first, and then I'll tie in the cards. So on the 15th, you have Venus conjunct Neptune in your 7th house in Pisces. So this is very healing for relationships. If there has been some area around relationships where you have felt unsafe, or you felt hurt, or you felt uncomfortable, or like there weren't proper boundaries, or like you were in conflict with somebody, this is bringing a lot of peaceful energy into that area of your life and creating more of the potential for passivity. So like people not necessarily being at each other's throats, a little bit more of just kind of getting along with one another. On the 16th, you have the Sun conjunct Saturn in your 6th house. This is where I feel like you guys have been dealing a lot with maybe working really hard and feeling like something was imbalanced. And this could be in work or relationships. But I am getting the sense that there was, with this Nine of Wands and Six of Pentacles, just this feeling of like, I put in all this effort and I try, and I feel like it doesn't ever kind of get me anywhere, because after these cards of exhaustion, keep trying to give, I have the Three of Swords. It's like, and then I leave myself depleted, and then I feel like I have nothing left to give. And then I feel like I just don't know what to do. And there's something here where I feel like there has been some kind of universal imbalance. And again, this could be within a particular relationship dynamic, or this could be within career, or I guess it could be other areas of life, but those are the two most predominant ones I'm seeing. And I really feel like in many ways, this could have to do with you guys realizing that maybe you're over giving in some area of your life because there are deep fears of unworthiness. And on the 17th, when Mercury's in your 6th, sextiling Jupiter in the 8th, I think you will realize this, and it will help alleviate some of that burden of always feeling you have to juggle it all, of always feeling like you're responsible for everything. You have to have, control over everything, or some type of like be perfect at everything and always deliver and do the most and show up. And it's like, I feel like there is some level of, giving that was coming more from a place of insecurity rather than just a desire to fully show up that way. It might be a mixture of both. It's not necessarily like things are black and white, but I really feel like as a clarifying for the Three of Swords, I pulled the Two of Pentacles. I really feel like you guys have just taken on a lot on your shoulders. And in many ways, you're just juggling so much inside that I felt like you took on maybe things that you don't need to take on, or you're doing things that you don't need to do. You're over giving, over delivering, showing up in bigger ways than you need to. Maybe also some of you guys have important decisions that you need to make and priorities that you need to balance, which I feel like the priority is yourself versus others, and like learning how to balance that the right way. I feel like maybe some of you guys were over giving to others, like, oh, I'll spend lots of time with you. Oh, I'll do that thing for you. And maybe you actually needed to spend a little bit more time on yourself. And so I think that this week you're going to learn what that balance is, how to receive from others also, how to like let other people show up and support you, how to maybe not always do the most because you are enough doing what feels like once you heal the unworthiness wound, I think that you'll find that you just naturally do less. Like you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to show anyone anything. And as a result, you do less, but it's actually just as effective. And you realize maybe I was working way harder than I needed to in this relationship or this dynamic or whatever, or this career or anything in your life. I was working so much harder than I needed to, because there is a threshold of what makes sense for us. Like what, we put in, we get out. There's a threshold where that makes sense. And then you go past that threshold and you give, and you actually don't get as much in return. So it's more about doing the right things, doing things with the right energy and in the right way than it is about doing all of the things. And I think in many ways, again, it's about learning to juggle your self-care, taking care of yourself and taking care of others in the right way. And I think in many senses, you guys have been overly focused on giving. What's interesting, though, is this is a healing energy in the relationship sector. On the 18th, you also have the sun moving into the relationship sector in the 7th house. So it's not like we're telling you, or I'm telling you to step away from your relationships. That's not at all what I'm saying. It's just, I think it's going to bring in some type of healing where you're able to actually attract maybe more reciprocation within the relationships or more reciprocation from others. So, and again, it's about your energy as well, you doing things the right way, energetically, and you'll attract more of actually what you want through that energy, through the undercurrent of what's truly motivating you. You'll actually attract more of what you're looking for from others and get farther in life. And so it's still an emphasis on relationships, but through a different light, through a different modality. On the 18th or on the 19th, you also have Venus at 29 degrees of Pisces in your 7th house, sextiling Pluto at 25 degrees of Capricorn in the 5th. So there is something about this Pluto at 29 degrees that is a little bit volatile, and it is undergoing a lot of transformation and lessons before it moves into the sign of Aquarius. Being in your 5th house, there's some lesson here around not just like worthiness, but also around what makes you, what makes you special. And there is some worthiness wrapped up in that, because if you can understand what you're bringing to the table and what makes you special, you don't need to feel like you have to change something about you or something about what you're doing in order to make it attractive for others. So for example, if you're a business owner, you don't need to change and reduce your prices because you are special. There's no one just like you. And that's assuming that your prices are at a good place. I mean, obviously if they're astronomical, maybe not everyone wants to pay. There's, you know what I'm saying? But there is a nuance here of like, I have something unique to offer. My presence is enough. I am worthy. And I feel like there's something really healing and beautiful coming through that, especially as you start to receive from others. It's almost like further validating yourself and who you are and helping you create more of that balance for yourself in your life. And I pulled the success card. So I really am seeing this taking off for you guys. And again, for arguments and issues in relationships, I'm seeing those soothe out a little bit, become more subdued, and the success becoming the more prominent focus of your life right now. So I definitely think good things are coming. Be open to receiving, be open to blessings from others, and enjoy this week. All right, I moved into my PJs, getting ready for bed, but I wanted to finish up with some of these readings. So we have Leo up next, and Leo, you guys, I feel like are moving into a state of more clarity. And I think that's going to be really beneficial for you, especially within your relationships with others, where you stand with others, what you want with others, how you navigate your dynamics, essentially. I think you guys are going to find that this week can provide some healing around that level of uncertainty that could have been giving you maybe a lot of stress or paranoia, or maybe even something that's more so in your subconscious. So not knowing how something's going to end up, not knowing kind of what you think about something even, or how you feel, or how somebody else feels. I feel like there is some type of dynamic where that is coming to the surface in a really obvious way this week that is going to be healed or soothed in some type of way. So it's not like you're sitting there wondering and questioning like maybe you normally would. So on the 15th, you have Venus conjunct Neptune and Pisces in your 8th house, which I think is going to be part of the reason why there is a soothing around this, because I think that this level of uncertainty around a relationship dynamic, could be any type of relationship, has maybe triggered up some past stuff for you. So there could be some ways in which, for example, if you're not sure if somebody at your work likes you, and you're not sure kind of where you stand with that person, maybe it brings up those memories of being bullied as a kid, even on a subconscious level. And I think in many ways you guys are, again, healing that this week. On the 16th, the sun is conjunct Saturn in your 7th house. So that's why I'm like, okay, this feels like that level of clarity is going to help you concretize something within your relationships a little bit more. So there is a little bit more sureness moving forward about where you stand with somebody or what to do. Maybe you decide to invest in that project with that person, put more time into it with them, and you start to see, oh, actually they do like me. It was just a fear of mine, or it was just their personality or something like that. But I feel like that's just an example, but there are many ways in which you guys can have this moment of commitment or understanding, or like a tangible result in the area of relationships that can show you kind of what direction you want to head in based off of the past, based off of the present, and what you want in the future. On the 17th, you have Mercury in the 7th house, sextiling Jupiter in the 9th. So this is where I feel like you're going to have a lot of clarity about the future of the relationship, the longevity around kind of where you want to take things with that person, what you want to do with that person, how much you can trust and rely on them. And it's an area of growth as well, where you might even benefit from having a discussion with that individual, and you can start to see that you grow as a person by being transparent about what it is you truly desire. On the 18th, the sun moves into your 8th house, which will continue this season of healing for you and directing attention towards the shadows, towards your debts, towards things that you felt like have been holding you back recently. Maybe you feel like you're not where you want to be in life at this specific time in some area of life. The sun moving into this house will help you bring attention to those areas where you feel like there is some internal deficit or external deficit for you to do something about it. On the 19th, Venus is at 29 degrees of Pisces in your 8th, sextiling Pluto in the 6th, which again, I feel like is really going to show that having this level of clarity around your partnerships and your relationships will actually increase your level of productivity. If there has been volatility within the workplace or with colleagues, I really see that this level of clarity is going to benefit that relationship and ultimately smooth things over. So the cards that I have for you are the 7 of Cups, which is, I feel like, where things have been really uncertain. And then the Three of Swords, which is usually some heartbreak card. And I feel like when I pulled Clarity, I think it's talking about the Seven of Cups, but when I pulled Clarity, I got the Ace of Swords. And so this means basically that you're starting off from a place of kind of seeing that there's lots of options and not knowing which direction to go in with somebody, and then getting the idea that, okay, this is kind of the direction I want to go in. I'm finally having some clarity and discernment around this situation, and I'm able to heal this feeling of like being stuck in limbo with a certain relationship or person or job or whatever that involves other people. I really feel like there was, again, a limbo, a very strong like disorientation that you're finally coming out of. And the last card was the Hermit, and you can see this person is now guided by the light. And there might be still elements of this where you're not completely certain about the things in the future. You might start to have some ideas of what you want. You might start to make some plans. And that's what I feel like is the guiding light here. But there's still some unknowns, and that's okay. And I feel like you guys are discovering more about yourself in this process of unknowns as well. With the Stimulation card, this feels like things are picking up life more. So this could be like passion, this could be arguments, this could be sexuality, but there's something where there may have been something that's kind of like been dull or lifeless, or has been maybe problematic in a non-good way. And I feel like this is saying that it's going to bring some more stimulation to some area of your life, with relationships where things might have felt like they were dull or flat. And if there has been something problematic, I feel like this is saying that maybe you're finding more constructive ways around that. Maybe the clarity is around how things have been problematic, because this card is ruled by Aries and Mars, which is a sign of conflict, a planet of conflict. So there might be some ways in which there has been conflict that led to uncertainty. And if that's the case, I really feel like you guys are going to have a little bit more of an understanding this week around that, or you're going to let go of some of the issues around that, and you'll start to heal a little bit. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Leo. I hope that resonates for you. I hope this is a really relaxing week for you and gives you everything that you're looking for. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to comment down below, give me a thumbs up, and have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Libra Rising or Libra Sun. So this looks like a really nice week in terms of relaxation for you. And I think this is going to kind of be true for everybody, just because of the fact that Venus is conjunct Neptune at the start of this week on the 15th. But for you, it's in your 6th house, which has typically a lot to do with our responsibilities, our work, our routines, getting things done. And I'm really getting the sense that you guys are having maybe a more reflective week. It feels like a little bit more passive. I literally pulled the Tranquility card, and I just feel like that has a really good summary of what this energy is. And the first two other cards that I pulled were the Hangman and the Moon. And these cards in particular have the zodiac signs or planets on them. So you guys, for the Hangman, have Neptune, and for the Moon, it's Pisces. So Neptune and Pisces both have the same energy of stillness, relaxation, especially paired with Venus, spiritual connection, reflection, rejuvenating oneself, almost from like a soul perspective. So I really feel like you guys are going to notice that the more that you take time out this week for you and for your own well-being and like your maybe meditative stay or spiritual practices or artistic practices or just being more present in the moment, I think you guys are going to find that there is a lot that it becomes uncovered through that, because the Hangman and the Moon can signify that there are things that are beneath the surface that you can change your perspective on in some type of way. So the Moon represents something hidden, and the Hangman is needing to see things from a different vantage point. So I really feel like it's simply just going in within this week and focusing not so much on figuring out what that is, but more so on just restoring and rejuvenating yourself and your soul, that you'll actually find that stuff from your past can come up to the surface. And I say that because I pulled this memory card. So it does make me feel like there is something coming up from the past for you guys, especially on the 19th, because on this day, Venus in the 6th house will sextile Pluto in your 4th house. Both are at critical degrees of 29 degrees of Pisces and Capricorn, Pluto being at this critical degree is representing some kind of last push to understand something about ourselves. For you being in the fourth house, this is something where you're trying to understand something about your past, your family, your lineage, kind of like the roots and core of who you are. And so with Venus making a sextile to this, it's again indicating that when you take this time out for yourself, for self-care and self-nourishment, you'll naturally just kind of discover more of what those memories are. This could be you're hanging out with your family more and then things come to the surface, or you're doing meditation or ritual and you just have this epiphany about something within your past and your childhood. So it's important to take almost like a break, a respite from our normal life, and from that the truth and clarity will emerge. On the 16th, you have the Sun conjunct Saturn in your 5th house. So this is really great for creative endeavors and committing more fully to something that seems exciting to you. This could also be committing more fully to you just understanding how to navigate being more focused on your own pleasure. Like what actually brings me the right balance and joy in my life, where I feel like I'm filling my own cup in the process of helping people. And so you might make some type of commitment or step towards that, that sense of balance, basically, that sense of creating more joy in your life. On the 17th, you have Mercury in the 5th house in Aquarius, sextiling Jupiter in your 7th. So I really feel like the ways in which you take care of yourself will just automatically benefit your relationships. And then the next day, the Sun moves into your 6th house. So I really, again, feel like you taking time for you, focusing on what brings you joy, taking time out is actually going to bring more clarity in your relationships, more clarity in your work, more clarity around your past. And it will give you something with this Page of Pentacles to actually work with. That can look different for a lot of people, but there's something almost tangible that will come out of this very energetic, restorative experience. So it's like taking a week in a meditation retreat, and then all of a sudden on the last day you have an exact idea of the thing that you want to implement when you go home to create more ease in your life, and then you start working on it with that Page of Pentacles. So there's something here where you guys have the opportunity to rest and reflect and gain a lot out of that experience. So if you guys enjoy this, let me know by commenting down below. If it resonates, please share your stories. I love to hear them, and I hope to see you guys next week. Bye. All right, up next we have Scorpio Rising and Sun. So this is an interesting time for you guys because I really feel like this week is a very gentle energy, very healing, very soothing, restorative time for ourselves. But I also was pulling a lot of cards that I feel like maybe have kind of an additional message in regards to something else related to working on something. Let me start with the cards. So I pulled the 9 of Cups and the 10 of Wands. This to me is definitely saying that you guys have been working towards something that you think will fulfill your wishes with the 9 of Cups, or that is fulfilling a certain wish that you have. But with the 10 of Wands energy, it's also leading to a sense of burnout. Like you guys might see that end goal, that like pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but on the journey across the rainbow, it just feels very tiring. It feels like it's maybe you're taking on a lot, either mentally, emotionally, physically. There's something about this journey that is taxing you and your spirit, because the wands have a lot to do with our creative energy, our life force, our spirit, our flow. And I feel like there's something about this that for you guys that is working towards something on the long term, but your spirit is like waning, like the light within you is waning a little bit, and you might be questioning stuff. And I pulled the longevity card. So there's something around this goal that has, maybe you've hit like the middle point of the goal, but there's something around this journey that's you're doing it for the long haul. You're doing it for something purposeful 10 years from now. And sometimes when we're doing something so far away where the benefits are not truly here now, it can feel very, very hard to have the capacity to keep going. And I pulled the Strength card. So I feel like there's any advice, it's telling you to keep going, to not give up, to be strong and courageous and believe in this journey, because there is something really beautiful for you on the other side. But I think that's also part of the problem with the Seven of Swords and the Two of Swords. I feel like some of you guys don't, there's like two messages that I got from this. With the Seven of Swords, this is a card of deception, of not knowing what's really happening. And so I think many of you guys might actually feel like you don't know what's on the other side. You don't know if things are going to get better. And you might feel like you're not fully in tune with yourself and what the future is and what you want. And it might make it harder to kind of stick with something. And that's why I think the Two of Swords is like, what do I actually want? You know, this way or that way. And with this deception card, there might be ways in which you feel like you are deceiving yourself for the good or for the bad. I mean, both of these cards have a moon on it though. So it's really just telling you to trust your intuition and to trust your gut. And don't look at the very current experience around you, the exhaustion, as the answer, because there's something deeper and more soulful that can inform you of what's really going on and what will benefit you long term. Don't get deceived by what's happening around you and the difficulty of the current moment, because you start off with the Nine of Cups. Like, this is something that has the potential to be very, very rewarding for you and very emotionally fulfilling. And I feel like you guys are not there yet. You're working towards that. And sometimes that can lead us to feeling like it's never going to happen. It wasn't meant to be. And it's leading to indecision. And it's something that you don't even need to think about. You don't need to have indecision. You just need to put your head down. And the second thing is act strategically with the Seven of Swords. This is about prioritizing. This is not about taking shortcuts or haphazardly moving towards your goals, but there may be ways in which you don't have to invest so much time and energy into something. Like maybe you can get the same results with less effort, or maybe you can put effort into different ways, like working smarter, not harder, and knowing the top priorities so that you don't become overwhelmed and bogged down. So that's how I feel like the Two of Swords comes in as a clarifier for the Seven of Swords again, where it's like, it's time to use your sort of discernment to know, to not look at everything as equal in priorities, value, and time. Like, you need to truly like be able to put things into little boxes and manage your energy according to the size of that box. And not every box should be the same size. There are some things that are more or less important, that are more or less urgent, that you need more or less work towards. And you guys might be in this phase where you're just getting overwhelmed and overworked, that you're having trouble distinguishing like what is what. So that's the really strong message coming through for the cards. For the astrology of this week, you guys have Venus conjunct Neptune in your 5th house on the 15th. So this is supposed to be a really good time for you guys. This is supposed to be a time where we feel like we are experiencing more joy. We're experiencing more playfulness. Maybe we're more social. Maybe we make time for our hobbies. It's typically like a really nourishing point in time to have Venus and Neptune in your 5th, especially in the sign of Pisces. So there may be some ways in which you guys need like soul nourishment to do things that are fun and restorative instead of just working all the time. And that could have to do with your priorities here as well. Like I was just mentioning. On the 16th, we have the Sun conjunct Saturn in the 4th house. So yes, there is some kind of like work energy associated with this, especially thinking about our long-term goals. But I think what it's trying to tell you is that this is not a time to give up, but to think about what you are working towards in the 5 or 10-year increments of time. Especially in the 4th house, it's about creating stability, something that will last the test of time, something that will create a beautiful foundation for us to put our feet on and to grow a home, grow a family, move into a place like that we can afford because we've done XYZ steps, or we are maybe making the foundation of our home stronger. There's ways in which the foundation, you're building the foundation now in some respect related to your long-term home or family security. So don't take this lightly. This is a big moment in time and it might be difficult, but have strength and belief in yourself that you can get through whatever this challenging moment is. On the 17th, you have Mercury in your 4th house sextiling Jupiter in the 6th. So the more that you are able to focus on creating this kind of peace within the home, Mercury in Aquarius is not necessarily about peace, but I feel like Mercury in the 4th house it definitely feels like it's a time to kind of do things around the home, like tidy up the home, take care of the home, focus again on planning your future and your foundation for the home. And this will help inspire your work efforts. This will help you keep your track and your focus on growing instead of on all the things that it's taking out of you to do this. On the 18th, the sun will move into the 5th house, which starts this new cycle of asking yourself how you can bring joy and creativity into any struggle that you're experiencing. Then lastly, on the 19th, you have Venus in the 5th, making a sextile to Pluto in the 3rd. So the more that you guys focus on creating that joy, the more it's going to actually change your mindset about where you're at in life right now. It's going to actually reduce the level of stress because you're going through a bigger transformation with Pluto at a critical degree. Before it changes signs into Aquarius, it's going through its last push in the area of Capricorn in your mindset area of your chart. So it's like this is meant to happen right now because there are ways in which you need to have better control over your mind, even during difficult times. And part of how to do that is to make sure you have sufficient rest, sufficient nourishment, food, as well as soul nourishment, like reading, meditating, learning, whatever that is for you, nature. So everyone is going to have a different way of nourishing themselves. But without that, your mind is going to really just, it's going to be too stuck. And that's not the energy that we want you in. We want you to feel refreshed. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Scorpio. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Sagittarius. So this is actually a good week, Sagittarius, and I think that you guys are going to really start to feel like the energy, especially within your home and maybe even in your mind, starts to improve. And I think it's as a result of all of the efforts that you've put in prior to doing some personal reflection within yourself. On the 15th, we have Venus conjunct Neptune in Pisces, which is happening in your 4th house. Venus and Neptune together bring energy of harmony and peace. So if there has been conflict, if there has been issues, especially in relationships, because you guys have had Mars moving through Gemini for a while, which is in your relationship sector, you'll start to notice that a lot of those things, especially within the home, will improve. So if you've been noticing that your family relationships are strained, your internal reflection and self-study is actually bringing light to what was causing a sense of disharmony. So I pulled the Hermit card, and that's what makes me feel like you guys have been soul searching. And because of this, it led you on a new journey. You realized that you didn't want to be the same person or do things in the same way as you've been doing them. It wasn't sustainable for you. And so in many ways, I think you guys are having this beautiful emotional reset where you are feeling more soothed and like you want to approach relationships or things in your life from a different emotional vantage point that will give you the ability to come at your life with more peace, tranquility, and understanding with other people. I pulled the agreement card. So it just really feels like people working together to create something, especially because I also pulled the 3 of Pentacles. So there's an energy of collaboration that is highlighted here. So if there have been ways in which your Mars energy, which is represented here on the 3 of Pentacles, if there have been ways in which the Mars energy has been used for conflict, I now see it with the Mars in Capricorn being used in productive ways. So that same drive that Mars brings to the table can come out destructively when it doesn't have a single pointed focus. Once you realize that maybe you were part of the problem and you hit an emotional reset button within the household, within your family, within certain relationships, and you also show up differently and get you and your partner or you and a family member or you and a friend to work towards a common goal, whether that simply just be having a good relationship, but it's probably going to be something bigger than that. But having that common goal in mind is going to unite you as forces so that you can come to an agreement. And maybe in some ways, this common goal is about protecting something important to you, protecting a child, protecting your relationship, protecting your finances. But I'm really getting the sense that you guys are coming to an agreement to use this Mars energy for what it does best, which is protecting one another or ourselves. Mars is our warrior planet that will stand at the door and make sure that only the right people get to come in. And so I'm seeing this kind of collaborative effort really come in also the next day when the sun conjunct Saturn in your third house in the sign of Aquarius. And this is happening on February 16th. So February is already kind of a collaborative month because of the strong Venus energy. But then on this day, it's giving you guys a solid focus and thing to go after, thing to focus on in kind of the everyday menial life. So like little tasks that you can do and things to generate to put your energy in a specific place. And this could be for you individually or as a couple or as a group, whoever this issue is with. On the 17th, your Mercury in your third house will also sextile Jupiter in the fifth. So this is just going to bring a lot more ease in conversation and decision making. This feels like what you want is what I want. We want the same things. And because of that, we're coming from a place of getting along. Things are just getting along a lot better. As the sun also moves into your fourth house, you might feel like you just have more focus on your home and your family life, and that creates more ease in that area of your life as well, or more focus on your own emotional well-being, and that eases up the tension that might have been happening in your relationships. On the 19th, we have Venus at 29 degrees of Pisces in the fourth, sextiling Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn in the second. So I think there has been something going on a deeper soul and psychological level that has threatened your sense of security. And Pluto has been moving to the sign of Capricorn for almost 20 years, and it's at the final degrees. It's about to shift into Aquarius. So the whole journey of it being in your second house related to our sense of survival, our sense of security, money, the things that we literally need, food, sustenance to live, it can feel very existential. It can feel very threatening. And so I feel like there has been something that threw off your emotional equilibrium because it actually touched on a really primal instinct within you that maybe felt like you needed to protect your survival skills, that you need to protect your money, to protect your child, to protect your home, to protect your emotions, something about you that you weren't willing to have poked and prodded or vulnerable or at risk. And so there was something big happening, like on a more, again, energetic soul level that stirred up these kind of contentious ways of relating with people. But now that you guys are going more into your roots and finding more of a sense of security within yourself, emotionally, physically, within the home, on this day, on the 19th especially, you'll start to notice that shifts a little bit. It starts to have more of a soothing energy where you feel like the security is coming in somewhere else. And so you don't need to protect it so much. Yes, there is a protection energy where maybe you guys are both protecting the same thing. But you'll start to notice that the people that you considered a threat are actually not a threat. They want the same things as you. They want you to be doing well too. And so once those people are on board with you, you start to work as a team towards protecting your emotional well-being, towards protecting the things that you care very deeply about. And it will create this kind of new emotional beginning within yourself and the relationship as you guys are clearly working towards the same goal. So I hope that makes sense. If it does, let me know by commenting down below, and I hope that you guys have a great one. Bye. All right, up next we have Capricorn. So there is definitely some interesting energy coming out this week for you guys. And it's a generally peaceful week from what I'm seeing in the astrology. It doesn't seem like difficult, to be honest, but I did pull the Tower card. So I kind of want to explain what that could represent here. So on the 15th, we are all experiencing Venus conjunct Neptune in Pisces. This is very soothing energy. This is supposed to be very healing, harmonizing. If there has been an area of conflict, harshness, this is where I see that start to kind of smooth over. This is happening in your area of communication, mindset, as well as kind of the menial daily little tasks that we do around the house and in our lives and running errands that keep us feeling very busy. So that area of your life might start to calm down. You might feel like you are taking more of a break, like you are also feeling more artistically or creatively inspired by the things that you're doing. It's a time to step out of your existing mindset and allow yourself to feel like you can live a little bit more in a sense of flow. in this week in particular. That doesn't mean that you are not focusing on your goals, because the next day we have Saturn and the Sun conjunct in your second house. So it's still very much focused on, what are my long-term goals? How do I want to make money? How do I create security for myself? But doing so from a place more of lightness or ease, rather than being super rushed, super busy, super urgent, super stressed. It's changing your way of interacting with these tasks, these things that you want to do in your life. Maybe some of you might want to make a big purchase or a big commitment to something on the 16th, when the Sun and Saturn can join in your second house. That can look like buying a house. I mean, that can look as simple as buying a car, taking out a loan, paying back a loan. Just financial decisions can tend to become magnified and more committed to during that time. So on the next day, we have Mercury in the second, sextiling Jupiter in the fourth. And I think whatever you guys are planning on doing or are doing in your financial sector is going to lead you to create a lot more sense of security for yourself, especially feeling like you are emotionally a little bit more stable. Like you don't have to rush around so much, because you know more or less like what you're working towards. But so I am seeing, like, with this card of success, I feel like this is almost telling you guys that you guys are going to be successful. You don't have to worry. But I feel like the way that you're going about things, there needs to be some kind of fundamental change. So I pulled the King of Wands and the Four of Wands. So this is about being excited about life, celebrating life, enjoying life, knowing that you're in control in some respects, but also that you are doing the things that you want to do. So you have some control over your day, and you're excited about what you're doing that day. You're enjoying the people that you're surrounding yourself with. You know what you're working towards. And it could be something very financially independent, and it could feel really good and exciting. So that's the energy that I think that you guys are meant to move into. And with this Tower card as the last card in this reading, there is something that you need to end or cut away in order to ignite more of this passion within you. This card is linked with Mars, which is a card of passion and drive. And I think that you guys have been using your Mars in a destructive, self-destructive way. That might not be the case for all of you, but there can be some energy where the Mars is becoming inflamed. It can lead to arguments. It can lead to being overly selfish. It can lead to just being super focused on like what is right in front of you that you need to get done, but then also not having necessarily the longevity of committing to that thing. There can be some impulsivity, some rashness. So it can make us prone to working super, super hard in the moment. And what you guys need, I think, is more of a sense of flow in many ways with your own energy levels. And the way to maintain our energy levels is by maintaining our mind in a lot of ways. Of course, our body as well. But I feel like there has been some imbalance. Like I pulled, to ask more about this, I pulled the Four of Cups. I asked more about the tarot to specify. I pulled the Four of Cups and the Justice. So this is really you guys rejecting any semblance of balance in your life with the Justice card. There's been something that I feel like needed to right a wrong, needed to bring a sense of fairness into a relationship or into your career, into your mind. There needed to be maybe like time for rest, but also time for work. There's something here where you guys have been rejecting the universe's prompting for balance in your life or in your relationships or in your career. There's some area of life, and you've been rejecting the balance that will lead you to emotional fulfillment with the King of Cups, to being in tune with what you really need in the moment and honoring that instead of just pushing. Because Mars energy is about pushing no matter what. Like, I'm going to push past this circumstance, even though it's difficult. And you guys are meant to live more in this state of having Mars be like a candle that lights your fire of excitement and creativity and passion and celebration. It's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be success right now instead of waiting for success later and pushing and pushing and pushing to make success happen later. How can we make it happen now by enjoying what we're doing? That is a success. And when the sun moves into Pisces on the 18th in your third house, I think it's going to really highlight how your mindset and how your little kind of urgent running around activities have actually distracted you from what it means to be present with your own success. And I can really see this on the 19th when Venus in the third house makes a sextile to Pluto and Capricorn in the first. Pluto is at 29 degrees, which is a critical degree that tends to bring about a crisis type of situation. Being in your first house, there's something around the way that you move through life that needs to change. It could be the way, especially that you take care of your body. But with Venus in the third, it has to start with the mind. So there's something about your mind that needs to alter that will then allow you to nourish and take care of your body. So Venus here is going to give you more of an idea of how to create this balance and to feel more emotionally in tune with yourself, to flow with your own energy and to cultivate more energy by doing the right things. And you'll actually notice that you can get more done and create more success and positive things in your life by doing things in a different way, by making sure that you have time for balance. And that could be making time for your partner because you've been working so hard. That could be making time to go out in nature because you literally have been just sitting inside in the office and it's tiring you and your eyes are strained. No, it's time to unplug for a second and create balance. And you'll find that you can actually still get just as much done. So that's why I'm seeing Capricorn. I think you'll really find that success is available to you now. And maybe it's time to redefine actually what success is, because it shouldn't be forcing, it shouldn't be pushing, it shouldn't be striving. It should be inspired. And maybe not all the time, maybe you're not always inspired, but if you're not inspired, is there something that you can do to tune back in with yourself to actually make you feel like, okay, I'm not super inspired today. I'm going to go have a 15-minute walk really quick and see if I can change my energy, my perspective, and nourish my body. And you don't have to be 110% on board with everything all the time. But it's about getting more and more in tune with meeting your needs along with meeting your objectives. And they're both equally important in your life. So balance is key. This has been the longest reading so far. So I hope this resonates. If it does, please comment down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a good one. Bye. All right, up next we have Aquarius, Sun, and Rising. So as I've been mentioning to everyone, this looks like a pretty decent week in terms of energy. Very healing, I think very soft as well, very feminine. And we can see that especially starting off this week where Venus is conjunct Neptune in the sign of Pisces. These planets together are just like a big warm hug, especially from ourselves and the universe. For you, it's happening in your area of finances and as well as emotional security, feeling like you're confident, feeling like you have something to offer to bring to the table, seeing your own worthiness. So I think many of you guys might feel like something clicks into place a little bit better this week, where you do feel like you are more confident in who you are, where you feel like maybe some kind of financial situation starts to heal and it reaffirms that the efforts and the things that you've been putting towards are actually working out and they're actually the right path. And I think it's going to create a sense of wholeness as well, where if there have been two parts of you kind of pulling in different directions, I really feel like they're going to converge a little bit better this week. So if you've been kind of wanting this, but then also wanting this, and you're not really sure and you don't know if you made the right decision, it's bringing all of that, kind of clicking it into an aligned place and feeling more whole. Like you're not splitting off into different timelines or different possibilities, but all of your energy is moving in one direction. And I really see that with this Chariot card. Everything is moving in one direction. We have two horses running right ahead towards their goals, knowing what they want, knowing who they are, knowing where they're going. And that's especially true on the next day, on the 16th, when the sun conjuncts Saturn in your first house. You guys are going to gain a lot of clarity around this path that you're taking. also around where you're going in the future. And I feel like some of you guys might feel like you have some kind of new idea come through, or you're committing to something. So it's like, I want this and I'm doing this and I'm committing to it. Or you kind of level up. It's like you're playing a video game for a long time and then all of a sudden you gain enough experience that you just like level up a stage. And what's interesting though is that I pulled the Fool card for this. And it's funny because I don't feel like this is giving me more of a wise type of experience where you've learned something and you're leveling up. And the Fool has a very beginner's mind energy. So I'm really going to take this as a sense of advice throughout this next chapter, that you are starting a new journey. And at this new phase, you might be coming with preconceived notions. You might be coming with past wisdom, past experience, but it's really good to actually feel like you're starting new in some ways. Feel like you're coming at the world through fresh eyes. And I don't know what that is going to be related to. Maybe it's just you're starting a new job and you're worried that something from the past could happen, or you're really confident because you've had this other experience and you're like, I got this. And it's like, no, let's come from a beginner mindset without the fear. That could be the negative, without the super confident, either positive. It's like, let's just come at it very neutrally, very receptive, which I think is very strong energy right now. Especially on the 17th, when Mercury's in your first house, sextiling Jupiter in the third. This is saying that you have the potential to really learn and adapt a lot right now. So if you're coming at life with a beginner mindset, I think that you'll actually find that you receive the most from this experience, because you're not going to be trapped in a preconceived notion or preconceived way of doing things, which is going to be so beneficial for you. I also pulled the Strength card, which is a Leo card, and also pulled the Lovers. So Leo energy is your opposite sign, which means that it's your 7th house of relationships. And the Lovers is also about relationships. So there might be something in relationships that has felt like a little bit of a struggle, because the Strength card usually tends to indicate having to persevere through something. So there might be something going on in relationships that's also getting a restart or a refresh with this energy. You might feel like things are becoming happier, things are becoming easier. And with the sun moving into your 2nd house, I just feel like there's more of a sense of stability, confidence, financial prosperity, and that might actually leave you at ease in relationships if there has been any difficult experiences going on there. Lastly, we have Venus at 29 degrees of Pisces in your 2nd house, sextiling Pluto at 29 degrees of Pisces, Capricorn in your 12th house. So this energy, I think, is a lot about letting go of the past. And in many ways, there have been like a long cycle of lessons that you've been learning around 12th house topics. And that can always bring up our fears. It can bring up our need to control or surrender that spectrum. What are we kind of reliving in terms of the past versus starting anew? And so I think that this, on the 19th, this energy can really start to put some of those things to rest and give us more of a peaceful energy around it. So we're not afraid anymore. We're just happy. And this could be in your relationships. This could be in your career. This could be in many different areas of life. But with this Strength and this Lovers card, I'm kind of getting the vibe that it's in relationships. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing for you guys. I feel like this is going to be a really uplifting week for most of us overall. And I hope that you guys enjoy this. If it resonates, please comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Pisces. So this is going to be a good week for all of us. And I think for you guys, especially because the planet Neptune is your modern ruler, and it will conjunct Venus in Pisces in your 1st house at the start of this week on the 15th. So I don't know exactly what day that is. That might be in the middle of this week, but it's the start of the astrological forecast. So in many ways, I feel like this is extremely healing, but ultimately what it's going to have you guys do is enter into a period of self-reflection. With the Hangman and the Hermit, there's really a need to go within and unwind the internal labyrinth of what has caused you emotional difficulty, especially emotional difficulty around financial lack. And I really feel like there is some kind of metamorphosis that you guys are going through right now. I pulled the transition card. So you guys are going through a state of transition. And we can really see that with the sun conjunct Saturn in your 12th house. It's putting it's kind of putting like the nail in the coffin on an old life. When the sun is in the 12th house, it's a lot about wrapping up our old chapter before the sun emerges in your first in March in Pisces season. When you're kind of reborn again, you're born as a new person. So on the 16th, when the sun conjuncts Saturn, there may need to be some things that you guys truly leave in the past, that you guys are truly willing to leave behind, especially when you're constructing the identity of yourself moving forward. You don't need to carry anything with you. You don't need to actually identify with any of those old things. Even though it might be so habitual, it could be hard to unravel yourself from that. But ultimately, I feel like you guys are doing this, especially in the area of finances and confidence and worthiness. There's been some past story that I feel like has been really lingering that you guys are finally going to put a stop to throughout the course of this next month. But I feel like this week is where that healing starts to emerge. With this going within cards, the Hangman and the Hermit, you're starting to see things differently within yourself to understand and again, go through that labyrinth that has created the sense of unworthiness inside of you. So I say labyrinth because I do feel like it's complex. It's nuanced. It's connected to our past. It has lots of ingredients. It's not something that you can just, oh, I went in and I saw it and I got it. You have to walk through it. You have to take the time. And that's why I think this is going to unfold over the course of the month. On the 17th, when Mercury is in your 12th house, it will sextile Jupiter in the second. And this will start to help you with the process of letting go. It will start to help you see a little bit more clearly, what is it that was holding me back? And that could be you, because this 12th house is a lot about our own self-undoing, our own self-sabotaging. And especially with Mercury, it's what our thoughts are that can lead to that self-undoing. On the 18th, the sun will move into Pisces. So we're going to get this in the middle of the month. And then for most of March, we're going to get this rebirth process coming into play. So it's not, I originally said March and I meant to say the 18th because I know that March is primarily Pisces season, but regardless. So on the 18th is when you're going to get that rebirth, that transition is going to complete itself. The old will leave itself behind, and you'll have the opportunity to finally embody more of a sense of abundance. And I really feel like this is going to help you in terms of your long-term planning and your goals. It could also help you establish a community of friends that actually feel like they align with this new abundant self. And I see that because on the 19th, Venus is going to sextile Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Pluto being at 29 degrees is a critical degree, indicating that you've been undergoing a larger change in the way that you view your long-term projects and goals, as well as your friends and community. There might have been some instability in this area of your life recently. There might have been a crisis. There might have been difficult, tumultuous situations that are now being forced to be resolved, so that you can learn those last little lessons around that area of your life and move on, where Pluto finally will move into Aquarius. So if you want to check out Pluto and Aquarius video, that's on my channel, and that's very helpful. So Venus in the first house is going to help you understand what you need to value, what you need to believe about yourself in order to create that community, that long-term goal, and that impact as well on the people around you that you are looking for. So it has to reflect from the inside out. And I think you'll really, really start to see that on the 19th. But again, with this Three of Swords being the last card with the Five of Pentacles, what's being healed is where you have felt lack, where you have felt unsupported, where you felt like you were out in the cold and you had to put so much effort and energy to not have things return, to not have support from the universe. And for many of you, this will be financial. For some of you, it will also be relationships, because Pluto in the 11th indicates community friendships. So I think it's honestly coming in both directions, where you are starting to realize more and more of your value. And that's allowing you to end an old cycle of poverty or impoverished thinking in regards to finances and friends, and start stepping into one where you dream bigger, value yourself more, and are able to earn and connect more with others. So that's what I'm saying, Pisces. I hope you enjoy this. If so, give me a thumbs up and comment down below, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.